What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today we are back in the battle chamber. We have Syn on our left, played by Hudson, and we have our red Broly BR on the right, played by Kobe. So Hudson's going to start by charging a SPR version of Prideful Transformation, tapping 1 for the 1-drop. Looking at, I guess, what is it, top 5 for a Shadow Dragon? And then proceeding to pass turn, I believe. So we were able to start going back to physical locals, which I know when it comes to gameplay, everybody prefers in real life as opposed to untap. So for those who tuned in to the remote battle chambers through untap, I really do appreciate it. But from here on out, we're going to focus more on IRL gameplay and maybe just use untap as a backup in case we can't get to a local for some reason, right? So Hudson's going to go ahead and pass to Kobe. Kobe's going to charge the 3-drop Broly, and he's going to activate Broly's effect to add a Violent Rage from deck to hand, which probably means that he has Vampa in his hand already, which is a good play. So he's going to tap 1 to activate Vampa. He's going to activate Vampa's effect. He's going to take 1 life from life to hand, puts him at 7. Top X, I think, is like top 5 or top 7 for a Broly, and he's going to add the 1-drop. Then I believe the cards go back to the deck, and he shuffles. So I think we're all in agreement that Red Broly BR is definitely tier 1, probably a very top meta contender in the game currently. And I feel like, as you see Kobe creating a life there for the Broly skill, I feel like Syn Shenron is also maybe not tier 1 just because of, I guess, finals appearances or wins or whatnot, but definitely tier 1.5. Since Shenron is a really good control deck, and with all the support that it's gotten from set 12, with the Nova Shenron, with the Oceanus, and the new 8-drop, I definitely think that you can see Syn Shenron pivot to a more aggressive gameplay while still controlling your opponent, which is the best of both worlds, honestly. It's definitely the best yellow deck right now. I haven't really experimented too much with Whis in person, but I definitely feel like Syn Shenron is the strongest yellow deck that we have in the game currently. So off of Vampa, I believe the interaction is off of Vampa. The Broly comes in, Ba comes out, and then Ba's a 2-drop 5k blocker, and then he goes ahead and he searches his 5-drop piece for the swap chain. So again, swap was introduced to us in set 3 or set 4, I believe. It was Cross Worlds where we got our first swap mechanic, and it's been pretty strong ever since. I mean, the Goku lineage swap kind of got, neutered because of the banning of Bardock the Progenitor, which was the engine starter. But back in the day, that swap Storm deck obviously kind of wreaked havoc on everything. And then it transitioned into a swap into Height of Mastery. So swap is a very strong keyword. Playing stuff for less energy or being able to, bring stuff in for free or whatever the case may be in a resource game. I think we've said this like 1,000 times on the channel. Anything that you can play for free or less than its specified energy cost or, printed energy cost is always going to be really good. So he's going to go ahead and swap into his 3-drop Servant, which will be a 19k attacker. And now he has his 1-drop Paragus on the board. Paragus is a really good card. It has that Overlord skill, so you can go ahead and bottom deck your Servants since you can't untap them. But the fact that you're playing Servant and Overlord in a swap deck, it just allows you to climb your ladder that much faster. So the other thing you have to worry about too is playing against yellow. Obviously Hudson's tapped out, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But Nimbus, right? So Nimbus is the oldest floodgate that we have in the game. It's lost a lot of steam recently because of the unison attackers that you can have. It doesn't really stop unisons or anything like that. So you can kind of phase it out a little bit, but there's not a good yellow equivalent for Nimbus just yet. They haven't really released anything to replace it as Kobe goes ahead and takes another life, putting him down to 5. He's going to go ahead and swing with his Broly. I believe that's going to make him a 15k critical swing. And as you can see, the Hudson crits the Oceanus Shenron into the drop area. Because critical life was taken, Kobe can now free play Bardock the Resolute. Bardock the Resolute is a monster. He's a 15k double striker that comes in for free if your opponent loses life to a skill, so like critical or burn damage. And then he comes in, if a counter skill is activated in response to his attack, he restands. So it's a 15k double striker coming at you. There's really not a lot you can do unless you're going to combo out. But you're early enough into the game where Hudson can afford to take those 2 damage, especially since Syn Shenron awakens at 3 life. So Kobe's going to go ahead and pass his turn back to Hudson. Hudson's going to charge his 2nd yellow energy, activate his leader skill to go ahead and, or not his leader skill, activate his 1-drop to go ahead and swap into the 4-drop Shenron, which is a 19k blocker. I believe the 19k blocker also comes in and prevents your leader from restanding, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really good effect because leader-based aggression has always been the crux of Dragon Ball. Whether it's Reboot Gohan or anything like that, has printed double strike or anything like that. So being able to prevent your opponent from restanding their leader is going to obviously lose them value, right? So he's going to go ahead and play into the big boy 9-drop Shenron, which is basically Bloodlust on legs. And Syn is going to go ahead and attack top 5 for a Shadow Dragon. Kobe's going to block with his Ba. And here we go. We're back at Hudson's main. So that 9-drop Syn Shenron is so good. It's a 30k revenge blocker that his auto basically prevents your opponent's skills from activating. They'll get their enter battle effects or they'll get their on-play autos, but once they're resolved onto the board, they won't have any skills. So blocker, dual attack, double strike, critical, none of that is going to carry over, but it will prevent, it won't prevent on-play autos. So we're going to go ahead. Hudson's going to swing 30k into Bardock the Resolute. 30k into a 15. Yeah, I mean, you just let that die at that point. There's no point of comboing out of that. And because he's playing Shadow Dragons, he gets to restand 1 of his battle cards. And pass to Kobe, untap, draw, charge a red energy here for his 2nd red energy. Let's see what he decides to do. Broly is an Awaken Untap 2 leader, which is really interesting because we didn't get a lot of those in set 11. There's actually not a lot of quote-unquote meta-worthy Untap 2 leaders right now. Most of them are Untap 1, Draw 1, or Draw 2, or Untap 2, Draw whatever, Untap 1, Draw 2. Like, there's a lot of different variations when it comes to awakening skills right now in the game. But Broly being an Untap 2 leader with a swap mechanic is crazy because you can just keep going, get infinite value off of your combos, and you can get just infinite value off your swap plays. So he's going to go ahead and activate leader skill, take a life, giving himself critical for the turn. And he's going to search this, I believe he activated Vampa to search for the Broly. Yeah, so Vampa searches Broly, the 1-drop. That is the one from the set. That's the one from set 11. That is not the tournament pack 1-drop. Obviously, you want 2 different ways to start your chain, which is why that tournament pack Broly was so expensive for such a long time, because you want a way to build up a secondary chain. Especially if you don't see your 1-drop early enough and you can't start the ball rolling, that's definitely going to hinder you. It's definitely going to bump you out of tier 1 status, but I still think you can make an argument that the deck is playable without the tournament pack promos. If you really wanted to go ahead and go down that route, you just might have to do things a little bit differently. So Kobe's going to swing with his 3-drop, 19k. Hudson's going to activate his revenge blocker here, which would essentially just kill his 3-drop. But I guess that's not too bad because Kobe could just go right back up the chain again and just start swinging with his battle cards. So he's going to awaken for no untap because he has his energy open. I guess to get more pressure off of his leader swing. But that he is a revenge blocker, so he would die, yeah. Hudson gets the combo with that. Basically, that card that you saw Hudson combo with basically is a Zarbon for Syn. So you just combo with it and restands one of your Shadow Dragons. Because the 3-drop left the field by a skill, he can go ahead and play this 5-drop for free off of that destruction effect on the revenge. And when he comes into the board, your opponent chooses 1 card in hand and sends it to the warp until the end of the next turn. So it's like pseudo hand control. It's not real hand control because it's not a hard neg. They do get the card back, but they won't have it for their turn. So Kobe's going to go ahead and swing with lead, auto draw. Hudson's going to block with 30k. Too bad Revenge doesn't hit leaders, right? That would be insane if you could just like KO a leader. I mean, that would solve so many problems, right? But Kobe's in a good spot. He still has 2 attackers. He's got a 14k swing. Got a 30k swing with double strike, I believe. Or he's crit. I'm not exactly sure on the stat there, the keyword. Looks like he's activating an overwhelm play here. That is Trunks, time regulator. So time regulator Trunks is overwhelm for 3, draw 2, warp 1. So it's kind of like a watered down version of Bardock, the 4-drop that we got from the first anniversary box. You can make the argument that the Bardock is a little better because the card that you have to pitch goes to the drop area instead of the warp. So you're putting more fuel into the drop area for a follow-up play, or if you need to like just pitch something to the drop area. But it is a pretty good card. You're still seeing 2 new cards, and you're getting rid of something that might be dead in your hand. And it's just more pressure. It's 15k pressure. Again, he got the skill off because it was an enter battle skill. So Syn doesn't really hit that. He doesn't prevent on-play auto, so to speak. So with that, Hudson's going to take the damage. Kobe's going to pass turn with 2 red open. Hudson's going to untap here. I believe he's sitting at 4. He needs 1 more. He needs to go down 1 more to awaken. He's going to charge his 3rd here. Nimbus, we talked about earlier, being a decent floodgate for yellow right now, but not in the most optimal manner. So he is going to tap 1 to play Nova. Nova's going to burst 2. So I think you have to tap it to burst 2. Yep. And then he's going to bring out Ice. Now, Ice is the counterplay one. But when he's played, I believe he gets the KO a card. Nova's really good because it feeds the drop area for your 8 drops. So you can copy your Oceanus, but I don't think Hudson has that combo just yet. But it is really good because it just dumps your Shadow Dragons to the drop area. And if you're able to get the effect off of the leader for 6 energy, he's just really good. Oh, there he is. There's the 8 drop. So the 8 drops is super good. I mean, he comes in, he copies a Shadow Dragon that you have in the drop area until the end of your opponent's turn. So basically, the combo most of the time is you copy Oceanus because Oceanus is a barrier. Like, it has barrier. So now you have a 30k barrier blocker with that 8-drop Shenron on top of your 9-drop Shenron that's a 30k revenge blocker. And then you're going to obviously just awaken and get infinite value. So Syn Shenron awakens at 3 life, untap 1, draw 2, which is really great in my opinion. And it just has a lot of utility. And obviously, Hudson's a great pilot. So obviously somebody like that who has time with the deck, who's played the deck for a good amount, and just knows the intricacies of the combos and sequencing. Because sequencing is probably like the most important thing in this game, next to like knowing what and what not to charge. So you're going to get results if you know what you're doing. Kobe's going to respond to that 8-drop swing with a Violent Raise. He's going to pitch a card, and I'm assuming he's going to say battle cards because there's really nothing else that you can say at this point. So battle cards that have 20k or more power cannot attack for the remainder of the turn. Hudson's going to swing with Syn, auto draw. And is he going lead though? I think you have to go lead because you don't really want to combo too much to try to get the 30k off the board. He is going to get a card back from his warp at the end of this turn. So I think you just try to go face at this point. I think Kobe's sitting at 3 life, which is, it's okay. I mean, Broly doesn't really care about how much damage it takes because it could just do so much with so little. So I think you can comfortably play Red Broly with 1 life if your opponent has nothing left to do, because then you could just go, just push and then see where you're at. But against a deck like Syn with a lot of blockers and some control aspects, it's really not, the most optimal thing you could do. So Hudson's going to tap 1 to play the 1-star ball here, and then the 1-star ball is going to go into the 4-drop 19k, and at the end of his turn, because he's awakened, he gets to restand all of his Shadow Dragons. So he's got 3 blockers on board. The 9-drop Syn Shenron is a 30k revenge blocker. You have the 19k 3-drop blocker, which I believe also might be revenge. I might be mistaken on that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that 3-drop, or the 4-drop rather. And then you have your 8-drop, which is now a barrier blocker. So he's going to pass the Kobe here. Kobe's going to untap, draw charge his 3rd red energy, which is, believe it or not, it's a lot of energy for Broly. Broly doesn't really need too much. So we're going to go ahead and untap everything here. He's got some pretty good board presence with the 1-drop and the 5-drop. The 5-drop Broly being a 30k attacker, and the 1-drop Broly, well, right now he's a 4k because there's no Overlord on the board. But that could change if he decides to play a Paragus. So Kobe is going to go ahead and swap into his SR Broly 6-drop, which basically what he does is when he comes into play, he chooses 3 cards in his opponent's hand and sends them to the warp until the end of their next turn. So it's really good. Again, it's an enter battle auto, so Syn does not get around it. But now Syn will shut off his double strike, his keyword. So his double strike critical, whatever it is that he has. 35k attacker is still nothing to scoff at, but you do have to be careful with the revenge blockers here. The good thing about Broly is that if their battle cards are removed by skills, they get to go and bring a smaller Broly out and then just restart the chain if they need to. So Hudson's going to go ahead and block with the 4-drop Syn. I believe he's a 19k blocker. Let's see if Kobe decides to do any type of comboing or anything like that. I don't really think you need to at this point because 35 into 19, Hudson just lost 3 cards. I don't think it's worth it for him to combo out. So I think you just kind of leave it at 35 unless there's a reason for you to combo. So he's going to super combo, bottom deck 1, draw 2. The Raditz super combo from set 11. If all of your energy is mono red, you can bottom deck a card and draw 2 cards as a super combo when your life is at 4 or less. So it's not a floating 10k super combo. It is a 0 cost 0 combo. But when your life is at 4 or less, the auto triggers. So it is a 10k on the auto, bottom deck 1, draw 2. So that would be a, I believe 45k attacker. And then Hudson's going to respond by comboing with Haze. So Haze Shenron is actually really interesting. When you use him in a combo, you can basically just pop the attacking battle card. So it's kind of like a Shugesh Kid Goku for Syn, which is incredible. Because if you guys played during the era of Shugesh Kid Goku, it was so difficult to safely attack and just pump up and try to do big damage knowing that Shugesh Kid Goku was looming. After they got rid of like the Shugesh Kid Goku combo, there was a Shugesh SS2 Gohan combo for a while that came out of the starter deck, but there was nothing as good as Shugesh Kid Goku because he was a blocker that came in, he popped something, and he had barrier. There's just a lot to do with back in the day. But because the 6-drop or the SR was popped with an effect, he gets to go ahead back into the 5-drop and activate the auto, taking another card out of Hudson's hand, leaving him down to 1. He's going to tap an energy to bring out this 1-drop. He did take a life in the process to search for the Broly. But like I said, it's okay. Like I feel like Broly can play comfortably with 1 life, especially when you have access to floodgates like Violent Rays. Against Syn Shenron, they're putting a lot of big bodies on board. 30Ks, 20Ks, 25Ks, stuff like that. 1 Violent Race can kind of shut them down, but it just does become an interesting interaction because now you have to kind of navigate what your opponent is trying to do. And as you can see, because that Broly had his skills negated with the 9-drop Syn Shenron, he had to swap with the other target. So Kobe's going to go ahead and attack with this 30k Broly here. Hudson's going to revenge block 30 to 30. Kobe doesn't look like he has a lot of cards in hand. Super combo, bottom deck, 1, draw 2. So he's going up to 40 here. And the only thing is, like, if he has another Haze, he's going to survive the attack. And then just, yeah, it's a revenge. So, yeah, that's fine. He killed the blocker, but he loses his battle card in the process. And then when the 9-drop dies, he gets to go and grab a Dark Star Dragon Ball from the drop area. So just kind of reset your chain if you really need to. But he still has another blocker on board, 30k barrier blocker. Kobe does have his leader swing. He's going to tap 1 for his Unison here. Play Kale. Kale looks at top 5 for a Broly. Top 3 for a Broly. Okay, so he's going to grab the 5 cost. Put the rest at the bottom of the deck. Do you have shuffle on that one? Yeah, shuffle. Kale's a really interesting Unison. She's a 5k Unison. that she gains a marker every time you activate swap. So I guess for this specific deck, it's really good. She does have an incredible -7. Basically, she just -7, and she brings out, she just brings something out for free essentially. And I've lost a lot of games to that effect. But she's good for the archetype. I know a lot of people have been playing the Piccolo Jr. that we got in set 12 as the unison for this deck, especially because you could just -3 and choose one of your big boys and nuke the entire board. But I think there is some merit to play Kale. So Kobe's going to go ahead and attack with his Kale, 5k to lead, I believe. Super combo, bottom deck 1, draw 2. I feel like at this point you're just trying to sneak some damage in. There's really not much you can do. Oof, that hurts. A Zamasu super combo to combo out and tap his only remaining attacker that's not his leader. So that does kind of hurt. Puts the sting in a little bit. So he's going to swing with this Broly 4K into... Oh, never mind. He's a servant, right? So he's going to bottom deck. That's 24. Bottom deck 1, draw 2. So he's resolved pretty much all of his super combos in this game. 24. That would be 29 if he combos another one. I mean... I think at this point, Kobe kind of knows that there's not much more he can do. He's sitting at 1 life, and his opponent's got 3 with another blocker on board to block his leader swing, and then it's just off to the races for Hudson next turn. So it is one of those things where I know Broly is like the quote-unquote boogeyman of the format, but if you can kind of piece things together to stop him and shut him down, then you can put yourself in a really good position. I think there's a lot of variety in the format right now. I think the game is in a very healthy spot. If you're looking at the top decks from like the PPG events and stuff like that, you can see the fluctuation of leaders and top cut percentages across the board. So I think right now, if you're a previous player or if you're looking to get into the game, it's a really good time to do so. Kobe's going to pass his turn here to Hudson. Hudson's going to draw for a turn, charge his 4th energy. He's going to activate Nova to burst 2, and then he gets to play one from the drop area, I believe. Or he's going to copy with the 8 drop. Yeah, he's going to play the Ice. So Ice is going to come in. He's a 15k attacker. He's going to reveal a Shadow Dragon from his hand. For what reason, I have no idea. I have to look into what this archetype does, like word for word, because I haven't really, believe it or not, played against it myself too much. Maybe just a couple of times here and there, but nothing too serious. He's going to go ahead and attack with lead. Auto draw. He's going to tap 1 to combo a Fushraded, and that's just pretty much the ball game there at that point. Kobe had a couple of cards in his hand. There's not much you could do. You have a 30k swing. You have a 19k swing. Ice is 15. It just out-resources you at that point. Out-values you, if you will. Broly BR is a really good deck if you go up the swap chain effectively and you can deal with your opponent's board. In this specific situation, Syn just kind of gets out of control because of how many Shadow Dragons it could put on the board efficiently. It doesn't cost a lot of energy to do that, and you're putting big defensive blockers on the board, and the 9-drop is definitely something to take into consideration because it's essentially shutting off your swap keyword on your smaller Brolys, so you can't swap into your bigger pieces. So basically, you'd have to play them 1 turn, and then allow them to sit on the board to resolve the next turn to go up into your swap ladder. But that's the game. Shout out to Hudson for going undefeated at our tournament. He went 4-0 with Syn, so shout out to him. And I obviously appreciate these two guys allowing me to record their game for the Battle Chamber. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Please hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. And we will see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.